It's Morphin time! Sega Genesis version!
Shift into turbo. Super Nintendo version.
Are you alright?
I fell on a PS3 controller.
Ooh.
Well, screw you too, bro.
If you grew up in the 90s, odds are you're very familiar with Power Rangers, and it was probably part of your childhood. Or maybe it wasn't. Well, for a lot of people, the show might have been, admittedly, kind of cheesy and bad. For others, it was the exact opposite.
Guys in spandex fighting rejects from a Godzilla film. Yeah, we know.
But the bottom line is, it was undeniably entertaining, it had a positive message, it had colorful characters, and of course, it had to have a variety of video games to go with it.
The Super Nintendo version was developed by Natsume and published by Bandai, while the Sega Genesis one was developed by Banpresto and published by Sega itself.
My version's better.
Oh, I don't think so, dude. Sega does what Nintendo don't.
Shut up.
The Super Nintendo visuals are bright and colorful, just like the show it represents. There are also some nice varieties in the backgrounds as well, from the streets, factory, skyrises, and underground caves. The backgrounds are nothing special or eye-grabbing, but they get the job done. The real strength is in the human character designs. The animations, when they move, are fluent and pretty graceful, although they do remind you how accidentally stereotypical the characters were in the first incarnation, with Zack the black guy dancing around, Tina being the sexy Asian chick, and Billy looking like Lester the Unlikely. Who kung fu fights in overalls? The enemies, such as the putties and the bosses, are all fun to look at, and they move very well, as do the monsters and the Zords.
But there is one downside to the graphics, and unfortunately it's when they morph into the Power Rangers themselves.
Suddenly, these teenagers look like muscle-bound hulks. Even the girls. The Rangers, none of them looked like this. It's a little off-putting and kind of takes you out of it a little.
Now, the Sega Genesis version used digitized graphics, which was a popular choice for many Sega games at the time. And here, they look great. The character designs of the Power Rangers are very faithful to the show, and they move like you would expect them to. The animations are all very spot on, being fluent and crisp. The enemy designs are very colorful and filled with a lot of personality. And the Megazord and the Dragonzord too. They are both visual treats to the eye. You know, it's just a shame that there are no human models other than these quick mud shots after you select your chosen warrior. The backgrounds in the Sega Genesis version are also really fun and exciting, with really cool backdrops like the lava volcano area, like cities, skyscrapers, and hell, why not the moon? Our personal favorite is the one right here, where you can clearly see people in the foreground cheering for the hero. Hello, guys, giant monsters are fighting. If one of them falls, it's over.
That's awesome.
While the Super Nintendo version went with a more cartoony look, the Sega Genesis visuals look far more closer to the show, which makes it very appealing.
For the Super Nintendo, you make your choice of Ranger, and the adventure begins. It opens with the 5 original Rangers looking on as Angel Grove goes up in flames, with Rita Repulsa cackling in the red sky. Well, that's kind of dark.
Unfortunately, there's no dialogue or cutscenes to help enrich the experience and further the story. Well, except for this one nice cutscene of the Megazord forming.
The Sega Genesis version does feature cutscenes and dialogue that are taken straight from the show. Again, this captures the feeling far better for me. First, she unleashes her monster, and when you defeat them, Rita gets angry and then increases their size, forcing you to bring out the Megazords. Rinse and repeat. And when you see the Megazord finally form and assemble, or the Dragon Zord emerge from the watery depths, it really gets you into the mood to dispense some justice.
The Super Nintendo Ranger game features some catchy tunes. One nice feature is when you morph, the Power Ranger theme kicks in. The sound effects are a little flat in some areas, although they did try to add an echo effect when you connect with a major hit.
Sega Genesis gives its own take on the Power Ranger style too, and it's just as nice as the Super Nintendo version. The sound effects are really nice too, and they added digitized voice acting for it no less. And for the most part, it's okay. Some are a little hard to make out, and we couldn't miss the fact that the Dragon Zord's roar sounds like a sped up version of Godzilla's roar.
The Super Nintendo version is a one-player adventure with 7 levels. The first 5 are side-scrolling beat-em-ups, traveling from left to right on a single path. You can choose from one of the Power Rangers, and you start off the level in human form, and each character has a standard jump, crouch attack, and throw, but they also have their own unique moves as well. You battle a variety of putty patrollers. The gray ones are basically pawns that you can take out in one hit, while others have projectiles, swords, and other weapons. You continue this way until you reach the boss character. Then your character morphs into the Ranger. Your health increases to full and you have more attacks and maneuverabilities, such as a wall jump. By pressing up an attack, you bring out the Ranger's unique weapon, and do a pretty cool move. Also, you have one bomb attack that can do massive damage. The level designs do have some variety, such as the factory level where you dodge obstacles, and a sewer level where you have to deal with water. There is the occasional power-up, such as health packs that you can find as well. The boss character fights are the highlights of the game. They are unique, have several forms, and each require their own strategy to defeat them. The 2 final levels feature you battling with the Megazord in a one-on-one fighting game style. The Megazord has its trademark Power Sword that you can charge up attacks when the power meter below is filled up enough. When you use an attack, the meter will fill back up again on its own. The controls are quick and responsive, and the characters move as agile as you imagine they would. The attacks are fun and colorful, but there's not much to it. While the gameplay is fun, it is also very repetitive. And the game is also preschool easy. It can be beaten in about 50 minutes or so. And there are no harder modes to adjust the difficulty.
The game features a password system and unlimited continues, which in all honesty is really not necessary. I mean, they could have just kept it with just 3 continues and you probably would beat the game with no problem.
Now, the Sega Genesis version is actually a competitive fighting game with 2 different fighting modes. In first player mode, or campaign, you face off with your chosen ranger and battle with the enemy monster as Rita sends them out. This is done in 5 stages. Like Street Fighter, each character has standard attacks. They also have gun blasts and their own special attacks that are performed with a combination of button presses. After battling with the ranger, and assuming you win, you then go to the Megazord and face off against the enlarged monster, where the fighting mechanics are pretty identical, but still they each have their own moves. One real treat with this version is after you defeat the Green Ranger in the second level, he and the Dragon Zord become playable characters. The Green Ranger was not playable in the Super Nintendo version at all, which was a real shame because, come on, it's Tommy. Who doesn't like Tommy? As for the controls, they are very responsive and the attacks are really easy to pull off. You have 2 attack buttons, a normal attack and a fierce one. It's not nearly as complicated as Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, but that is to be expected. One thing very particular about this fighting game, though, is that all of the characters have moves that are specific to them with combos that you can only input through very, very specific commands. So unfortunately, you can't really fake it like you can in other fighting games where it's usually down forward attack. In the options menu, you can make adjustments to the difficulty if you find the game a little too easy or too hard. You can also change the time limit so that you don't have to worry about it, and also the button configuration for your liking. In 2-player mode, you can choose between the Rangers and Rita's cronies, or even the Megazords and the giant monsters. After you make your selection, your little mini versions walk down to your chosen stage. Oh, that's cute. And after the choices are made, you battle to your heart's content. So, when it came to the original Power Rangers series, the Sega Genesis was able to get a classic fighting game out of it, while the Super Nintendo was able to get a really cool side-scroller action beat-em-up.
Now, there are other Power Rangers games. For example, the ones based on the '95 movie.
Hey, maybe in a future episode, if you guys really want to see it with more Power Rangers and stuff.
If you have any suggestions for any future episodes, please let us know in the comments below.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We hope you guys follow us on our social media, which the links are always down below, where they're awesome, just like you guys. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to show support for the show.
Hiya!